Right, I'm Murray Peat. We're on a place 300 hectares. This place is 300 hectares, halfway between Stratford and Taranaki. We've got the Ruapehu in the background, Tongariro, Narahoe. The northern boundary here is against this native bush, and this place, a long narrow place just south of that. Yeah, the Wanganui River's over there, well, the Taranaki just over there, and then the Hio, and then the Wanganui River, and Taranaki way over in the distance. Well, when we first came here, this place had hardly any trees on it at all, and I've planted quite a few trees here. We've planted poplars around the hills, try and hold the hills up, and for shade and shelter. Yeah, on this place we've got about 12 hectares of forestry. We've basically put forestry in for, well, I'm interested in trees, but as well as that, it's sort of diversify income, although you have to wait for the income. But the trees we've got on this place are, well, the forestry trees are mainly eucalypts. We have got some pines as well, but I tend to be a wee bit anti-pine because there's so many of them in New Zealand, and also I prefer to have a higher value timber because it's a long way from markets, and higher value timber tend to justify the logging costs and transport costs. We've got some blocks of eucalypts down here. The first ones here against the bush are pilearis, because in this district we get some quite heavy frost, and the frost and nuts are hard up the hills a bit, out of the frost pockets. And then we've got 19 further away. And we've got another block of eucalypts right out the back. Right, these poplars down here, we've got mainly down here they're Yunans, but we've got some eridana. More lately I've been planting toa and kawa because they tend to be a lighter branch than the eridana tends to be very heavy branched. And I have used some for feed when we had the drought. It's, you know, poplar leaves, the stock really love it. Some of them I have pruned for timber and also to get the branches well so the shade moves around, and not these ones, more the later ones, the toa and the kawa, I've done that. We're running 1300 ewes and 100 cows and taking the replacements through. So the forestry just diversifies the income from that, although it's yet to come, but yeah. But actually one thing I can't understand is why people, when the prices of timber are high, they all go and plant trees. Well, they don't all go and plant trees. People go and plant trees, but then by the time they're ready to harvest, the price has probably gone up and down 2 or 3 times. So it's more long-term sort of a thing. Yeah, well, I have learnt a lot from the Farm Forestry Association. You go to field days and you can learn more about what people have done wrong than what they've done right, I think. You know, you can come here and see lots of things I've done wrong, and you don't have to repeat the mistakes that I've made. So, just down here, for example, I've planted blackwoods and regnans, eucalyptus regnans in together, and the regnans are going to be ready before the blackwoods are, so the logging is going to be a problem. Either you're going to have to wait till to take them all out together. The regnans are going to could have gone earlier, or the blackwoods are going to be taken before they should, really, before their optimum. So things like that need to be sorted out before a tree goes in the ground. If you're coming into this country, you need to, well, first of all, you've got to pay all the bills, but you think in the long term, you can put a section of your farm in trees, maybe less productive, or it doesn't want to be a little block way out the back that's hard to get to, but if you could put some into trees and look after them and grow high value timber, it could be a good diversified income in later years. Yeah, you need to sort out, well, you want to have a reasonable sized block, but you don't want to plant too many at one time because you've got to look after them. And if you plant too many and can't look after them, well, it can be a waste of time. This tree here is eucalyptus regnans, 24 years old. I planted this hillside in trees, partly because it's got some tunnel gully erosion through here, and also I have used this hillside for shelter after shearing. Bung the stock in here and quite a bit of shelter in here. If I was doing this again, I would probably, instead of planting regnans, I would probably plant the whole thing in fastigata, eucalyptus fastigata, or I could have planted it all in blackwoods, or one or the other. I have had blackwoods are actually harder to manage. I've had, like, they've got a lot of branches, but there are better ways. We know more about looking after blackwoods now than we used to. I planted blackwoods here because the timber quality is really good. It's really good timber. Although they are slower growing, this tree is 24 years old. It's not a bad sort of a specimen. I wish they're all like that, actually. We're about 110 kilometres from New Plymouth Port here, so I like to, radiata is sort of a bread and butter, but I sort of like to have a high value timber to justify the transport costs if they're going to go to the port. So like farmers have different breeds of cows, on here we have different species of trees, and we haven't got all our eggs in one basket. If I had my time over again on this property, I would have joined the association sooner and learnt from other people's mistakes earlier. So I planted some macrocarpas and I planted them on a sunny face where the canker is worse than on a cooler southern face. The trees were planted on this place are varying ages, and I won't be here for another 30 years, so if we sold the property and moved off, we'd keep the forestry right for the trees so that me or my family can benefit from those trees in the future.